It is mailbag time here on Bears Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Harrison Graham, as the offseason continues to heat up. So load up your questions by using hashtag Bears or by super chatting. All right, from my burner account. Haven't seen this one in a while. Harrison Graham's beard. Thanks for the $5. Would you trade Khalil Mack, I assume, if you mean you could go and draft someone like Chris Olave? I'd be tempted, man. I would definitely be tempted. I love Khalil Mack, but if you can get a late first-round pick for him and maybe a day 3 pick or something, go get Chris Olave and an extra draft pick, that's something I'm at least considering. Now, I'm not just going to trade him for, pennies on the dollar, but if you could reignite Olave with his college quarterback, Justin Fields, I mean, that would be impressive. Olave and Darnell Mooney on the outside. I mean, you see the instant chemistry Jamar Chase had with Joe Burrow. I mean, those guys are in the Super Bowl. Doesn't mean that's going to happen, but we know Fields and Olave are on the same page. So, yeah, I mean, I would be very, very intrigued to see that happen. Barack Obama, what a name. Appreciate the $2. Is it still hashtag sign A-Rob? If so, for how much money? I kind of ditched that a while ago. Things change, man. I'm not saying there's no scenario where I'd take him back, but he doesn't want to be here anymore, I don't think. I think the Bears are content with moving on there. Appreciate, the great years he had in Chicago. This year obviously didn't go well, but I won't really blame him completely for that. There was just a lot going on, and I think it's just best for both sides to move on. G-Ski, appreciate the $5. Focusing on the draft and don't have a first-round pick, what number 1 receiver do you think is most likely, especially since we have over $40 million in cap? If you're talking about the draft, it's going to be hard to get a true number 1 in the second round. If you're watching live, I got a Bears mock draft cooked up. Maybe I take a receiver in that. Stay tuned. But if you trade up into the first round, you could get like a Chris Olave, a Garrett Wilson maybe. Jamison Williams, maybe he slides a little bit because of his injury. But it's going to be hard to get a true number 1. A guy that could be a number 1 receiver that might be there in the second round, maybe George Pickens, the receiver out of Georgia who had the torn ACL but played late in the year for the last couple of games for the Bulldogs. That's a guy I would be interested in. But just remember, the later you pick in the draft, the harder it is to find, true number 1 players at their position. Bear Forever 14 with the 5-piece. Okay, question. Once the front office and coaching staff are complete, what's the first major move you see happening? Bear down. Get the bear downs flowing in the comment section. I don't know. That's a really good question. I think an area they're going to attack immediately is offensive line. At least come up with a plan in their heads. Ryan Poles, Ian Cunningham, the assistant GM, they both have offensive line backgrounds because they both used to play offensive line. I think that's an area they're going to look at very, very closely early on, and then they'll go from there. So I would say the offensive line will be something they'll look at right away. Bo Bradley, hashtag Bears. Any chance the Bears could get Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave from Ohio State? So a couple of Olave questions now. Obviously, Garrett Wilson, his teammate. Wilson, probably going to be too rich. He may go top 15. I don't think you can get that high. Could Olave slip to mid-late 20s, maybe even early second round? It's possible. I mean, one of these receivers in this draft will slip, so maybe the Bears will be ready to pounce. But I still think it's pretty likely both Olave and Wilson are going to go round 1. But that's okay. There's a lot of good receivers in this draft. David Bell, George Pickens, John Mechie's a guy you could get in the third round. I like Slade Bolden as well out of Alabama, third, fourth round, just a really shifty slot receiver. So I think there's guys you can go get. But obviously the idea of pairing Fields with one of his former teammates is, very, very intriguing. Should the Bears make the call and trade something to get a first-round pick? Khalil Mack, Quinn, other players, whatever. Doesn't matter what the trade idea is. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Should the Bears make a trade to get a first-round pick? We'll make this the pinned comment on today's mailbag, so reply right there. Pete Carroll's Bubblegum. Wow. $20. Appreciate it. What if we replace the Pro Bowl with a I'm pulling this up on my computer because some of it's caught up. With a division tournament, each division will create a team from the best players in their division. Players with the best stats will get selected. Lots of last division standing wins. Let me just kind of think about this more. If we replace the Pro Bowl, it's a cool idea. Here's the problem, though, with these NFL players are so beat up by the end of the season. You're seeing guys, they don't even want to play in the Pro Bowl anymore. more. So in theory, it sounds fun, but football is such a violent sport that these guys just want to rest their bodies. So I don't think it's going to happen. If you guys want to pick up this Bears long sleeve shirt, it's only $22.79 right now. It's on sale for 25% off. Pretty sweet shirt, too. Chatsports.com/BearsLong, because it's a long sleeve. Chatsports.com/BearsLong. We'll get that link in the live chat, the comments description of this video. Go ahead and click and shop today. Okay, last to lead 88 says, what immediate moves can the Bears make to improve the offensive line this offseason? Trades, free agent acquisitions. Sure, I mean, all that's on the table. I don't see the Bears making a lot of trades to bring in players, only because they don't have a ton of draft capital. No first-round pick, no fourth-round pick. If they're going to make trades, it's probably to get draft picks, because Ryan Poles made it clear that he wants to build through the draft, at least long-term. Obviously, this year he only has 5 draft picks, but I think that, Ryan Jensen's a center that's a free agent. He could be out there. Cam Robinson is a guy. Do you want to go get an Eric Fisher or someone like that? There are players out there in free agency. I don't think they're going to trade for a big-name lineman, though. Mr. Nobody, $5. Report said that Roquan and Fields for Russ. What do you think about that? Would you consider? And target Ridley, Godwin, Juju, Devontae from first to last. Number one, that trade idea I've seen, it's not going to happen, and I'm not interested in it, quite frankly. If I'm being completely honest. As far as those receivers go, Ridley's the one player I would consider trading for, because he'd be an instant impact guy at a position of need. Chris Godwin, I have interested in. Juju, for the right price if it's cheap enough. Devontae, not for $30 million. I probably would give him 24, 25, but that's still going to eat up a lot of your cap space. A few more questions we'll get to, but first, subscribe to the channel. More Chicago Bears news, rumors, draft, free agency, and more coverage, including mailbags like this. Subscribe, hit that big red button. We'll continue to bang out some videos. Wade Bittner, biggest need for free agency. It's hard because we just don't know what the approach to compare free agency and the draft. I'll say biggest need in general is just offensive line. Just figure out what you're doing with the line. Figure out which guys on your roster that you like and that you think are starters. Probably Tevin Jenkins is one of those. Maybe Larry Borum, although I've heard that Poles is not as high on Borum as the prior staff was, so we'll see on that front. Is Whitehair still a starter? Maybe you move him to center. So identify those guys. And then after that, receiver and quarterback. And potentially defensive tackle now that you're shifting to a 4-3. Jenny, do you believe Rodgers will be in Green Bay next year realistically? Oh, there's certainly a chance. Now, I did read a report that he actually really wanted Luke Getsy to stay and be the offensive coordinator, and that didn't happen. So, we'll see. There's certainly a chance he returns. Honestly, and you Bears fans don't want to hear this, I think he'd be smart to stay because the AFC is loaded with quarterbacks. The NFC is not. But that doesn't mean he will. So they obviously have a lot of cap issues to work through. We'll see what happens. I'd say it's 50-50, just like last offseason. Here we go. Arnan23, what do you think about Harbaugh getting flown into Minnesota and being interviewed? Should we have tried to get him because it doesn't look like we even tried? Nevertheless, I love Matt, so it's all good. Reading between the lines, I think George McCaskey had a conversation with Jim Harbaugh. Doesn't mean it was a super in-depth convo, but if the report is true that Harbaugh wanted $100 million from the Bears, then if that's out of the Bears' price range, at least what they're willing to pay, then, what are you going to do, right? It's not my money. I certainly would have been interested in paying him and doing that. But I will say this. We also know that Harbaugh didn't stay places for more than 4 or 5 years. His 7 years at Michigan is by far the longest he's been at one place. So, we'll see. Obviously, he's a good head coach, and that would be a challenge to go through in the NFC North if he's the next Vikings head coach. Quinn for Defensive Player of the Year. He was a great player this year. With Eberflus not calling plays, is Vic Fangio in play? No, because Fangio's a 3-4 guy. It's not going to be him unless he wants to just be like a senior advisor on the staff, which he could be a DC somewhere, so that's not going to happen. Sounds like it's going to be Alan Williams, but as we're filming this live on Tuesday, that has not happened yet. We'll see what happens later on this week. RJ, what is the Bears' future for Justin Fields to get him on the right track of the team? New coaching staff. Get Luke Getsy. Hopefully, more of this offensive stat helps gets the best out of him. Plus, building around him. Offensive line, receivers. Those are two areas you need to get better at. Both those areas are big needs because after Darnell Mooney, you don't really have a big-time receiver. In the offensive line, it's a mess right now. So, yeah, build better around him. Have coaches play to his strengths. Ardan23, do we maybe tag and trade A-Rob and like a fifth for Ridley? No way, man. Because if you tag A-Rob, his tag is like $22 million or something. Like, it's just, I don't see a scenario where they tag him again because he had such a bad year and a team taking on that tag number. So it sucks how it played out with A-Rob, but it's just kind of the reality of the situation at this point. So that's all I got for you. How confident are you in Justin Fields? Scale it from 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, 10 being very confident. But like a 7. I still love his ceiling. I think his potential is super high. Obviously, we have to see it, but I'm still pretty confident. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments.